All right, we'll reconvene the Dublin City Council meeting of November 2nd, and we'll start with the pledge. Rick, you want to lead us in the pledge, please?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome to everybody. We have a very distinguished group here this evening, and we're so glad to have you on board. We have this is special recognition, a couple items tonight in honor of Veterans Week. We have Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Noble will be here to accept, and we'll be joined by other veterans. We have a special proclamation. So if you want to come forward, and I'll... Sandra, do you want to help arrange everybody? I think we want to get a photograph as well.
Hey, Chris.
Wow, what a group. Well, again, thank you, everybody, for being here. And this proclamation on behalf of Dublin City Council. Whereas Veterans Day affords all citizens an opportunity to pause and reflect on the sacrifices of living veterans, the commemoration is formally known as Armistice Day in recognition of the end of the war to end all wars, which was declared a national holiday in 1938 by congressional action to celebrate the service of World War I veterans in the most brutal, far-reaching war this nation has ever seen. And whereas following the honorable actions of veterans in World War II and the Korean War, Congress recognized the need to honor all those who have sacrificed for the common good. In 1954, President Eisenhower proclaimed November 11th as Veterans Day to publicly commemorate the contributions of every man and woman to wear our nation's uniform. And whereas there are nearly 1 million veterans in the state of Ohio and more than 23 million veterans across the 50 states who have preserved the peace domestically and throughout the world over decades of conflicts, America's veterans have selflessly fought for our country, defending the innocent, protecting the democratic ideals that we all hold so dear, placing the security of our nation before their own safety, all the while facing the trauma and severe hardships of war. And whereas Americans can attribute their freedom to the love of country and willingness to serve of our veterans, on Veterans Day, we honor and acknowledge the legacy of these brave men and women who have earned our respect and admiration. And whereas the VFW Post 10691 and the Wesley G. Davids American Legion Post 800 invite veterans and their families to a breakfast hosted by La Chatelaine in historic Dublin and a public ceremony to follow at the Grounds of Remembrance in Dublin's Veterans Park on Wednesday, November 11th, for a time of recognition and remembrance. Now, therefore, I, Michael H. Keenan, Mayor of the City of Dublin, on behalf of Dublin City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of November 8 through 14 as Veterans Week in the City of Dublin, urging all citizens to recognize the sacrifices made by veterans in preserving our freedoms and encouraging all citizens to display the U.S. flag and to participate in patriotic activities throughout the week. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you all.
It's on.
All right. We do want to invite you, particularly the school kids who want to start school that day, come to our ceremony at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, the 11th. For the veterans and veterans' families, join us at La Chatelaine for the great breakfast. Our speaker this year is none other than Brigadier General Dana McDaniel, who you also know as your city manager. So we're looking forward to that. As I understand it, we're going to have some other stuff going on, so we'll see. But I hope you can make it. Thank you very much.
we get a photograph here? I don't think so. You guys want to come up if they want to get a picture? Where do you want us at, Sandra?
Do I make a little speech?
White as well will stand here. Okay.
Yeah, they're going to be right here with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another proclamation and honor to bestow here this evening. So it's truly an honor to recognize Norm Smith tonight, someone who's made such a difference in the lives of our Dublin area veterans. Norm, a couple of your buddies and fellow veterans, Mac Parkhill and Gene Bostic, approached the city to share your story. They told us how appreciative they are for what you have done to help other veterans share their own wartime stories through the Dublin Military Roundtable. I understand that without you, Norm, it's likely that Dublin would not have a military roundtable. Mac and Gene recounted how you had been part of two other North Columbus veteran groups and determined that a similar group was needed in Dublin. Because of you, I understand that the attendance has grown since those first meetings, which were attended by about 10 veterans who all shared their experiences and memorabilia. Now there are up to 50 people who attend the roundtable meetings, and I know that's in large part to your efforts because you take the time to call everyone on the membership roster to remind them about the meetings. Every community should be lucky enough to have someone like you, Norm, but we are very glad you're here with us. And now on behalf of the City of Dublin and Dublin City Council, I'd like to present this proclamation. Whereas it is so often the case one person can make a difference and even determine success, Norm Smith is one of those people. Whereas Norm Smith, a veteran of the United States Army Air Force stationed in Guam during World War II, moved to the Dublin area 14 years ago from his former home near Washington, D.C. Whereas for many years Norm had generously shared his military memories and mementos with middle and high school students at numerous speaking engagements, presenting well-documented living history lessons. Whereas Norm has long been dedicated to supporting a variety of forums and occasions for and about veterans and their contributions to our country. And whereas in 2001, Norm contacted the supervisors of the Dublin Community Senior Citizens located in the Dublin Community Recreation Center, requesting time and space be made available for a startup group to provide veterans with a forum to share their wartime experiences. This was granted, and from then on, Norm became that one special person necessary to assure success. Whereas initially the meetings of what is now known as the Dublin Military Roundtable were held at one table in the Senior Center on the last Monday of most months. Over time, the group outgrew the table and obtained space in one of the talus, and the subjects expanded beyond World War II to include the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Cold War, and the various conflicts in the Middle East. Whereas the guest speakers, all of whom are recruited by Norm, have varied from Congressional Medal of Honor recipients to World War II Tuskegee Airmen, a Canadian Ranger who worked with our troops in the Middle East, former Ohio State Supreme Court Justice Eve Stratton, and our very own city manager, Dana McDaniel, who was a guest speaker shortly after his return from his deployment in Iraq. Whereas Norm has been a persuasive spokesman for many veterans events and has written letters to the editor of the Columbus Dispatch. Each November on the Sunday closest to Veterans Day, Norm contacts the 94th Aero Squadron restaurant near Port Columbus and convinces them to once again offer a free buffet to all veterans and their families. He is a strong supporter of and constant attendee at all functions at the Grounds of Remembrance in Dublin's Veterans Park. Now, therefore, I, Michael H. Keenan, Mayor of the City of Dublin, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 3rd, as Norm Smith Day in the City of Dublin, in recognition of the difference he has made in recognizing and supporting the veterans in our community and providing a showcase to share their stories. And now we'd like to present you with this jacket in appreciation of your role as the leader of the Dublin Military Roundtable and the Dublin Senior Writers. And we want to thank you for all you do, Norm. You want to pull that out of there?
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Turn that around for everybody to see. There you go. Got his name. It says Military Roundtable, Dublin Senior Writers, Dublin, Ohio, and the United States flag there. So
Can I say a few words?
we'll let you do that. We also have we've got the proclamation framed for you and your family. Rick, you want to hold on to that for him? Thank you. Well, you want to say a few words? We'll give you a live microphone. You're at it.
I'd just like to have a message for the young people here. The Battle of the Bulge was not a weight loss program. I want you to remember that. Any success that we've had with the Military Roundtable is due to great guest speakers and very loyal veterans, and I thank them and I thank you one and all. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Mike, you might want to stand on the other side. I'll get code up from here. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
I can't think of a better way for us to begin the Veterans Day month and the week and the day. So thank you all for being here. All right, that brings us to citizen comments. And I see Mr. Maurer, you have signed up. Is he here?
He's there, I can hear him. Somewhere.
That's a good idea. Some of the students in the back there, I know you don't like to sit in the front, but there's seats up here. We'd like to have you come forward. This is not church. If you're standing up back there, come on back and get a seat. Thank you. Good idea, Tim. There you are. Mr. Maurer, you have the floor.
Well, it's my function to be an anticlimax. Thank you. You're a very perceptive person. By the way, I noticed something in the material which is clipped to the bottom of at the back of the agenda. There's a reference to preventing tobacco addiction 21 initiatives. Should that be addiction? Preventing Tobacco Addiction 21 initiative, something which is going on here in the city, I guess.
It sounds like you caught us on a spelling error there again.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, you get my consultant's fee in the morning for that one. Now, if it means addiction, I'm going to work on another addiction, a different addiction. You know, Scott Dring and I have very cordial relations now. We don't agree on all things, probably on not very much, but the relationship between us has become very cordial. Now, I noticed I missed something when he was here last time. He referred to, and I don't remember hearing that, the Top Gun football group camp, and then he said it is sponsored by Football University. You know what that is? What is Football University?
Yeah, go ahead.
So former NFL players have put together this group, and they call it the Football University.
Oh, I see. And of course, you know that one of my prime contentions is that football has nothing to do with the university. I'll tell you a story about that. I go back to the days of Woody Hayes, and Woody was a wonderful fellow. He was under no illusions as to what he was doing and as to his position here, and he himself had had a background in history and English. But the football coaches in those days used to call up faculty members. They'd call us up and ask us and tell us about students who were working very hard in class, and couldn't we take that into consideration? Now, this came to a climax one time when Woody himself called the head of the English department, and he said, Al, you know, we've got a player, he's one of the students in your classes, one of your classes, and he works hard. He really works hard. Harder than I've ever seen any. He goes to all the classes, and he works hard. Can't there be some recognition for that? So Al, when he told us this story, said he had his head on straight for the first time in his life, and he said, Woody, when you play Michigan, and there are 2 minutes left in the game, and Ohio State is losing, and you have in hand a game-winning play, do you give that play, and if it's executed, do you give that play to the kid who's been sitting on the bench all fall trying to get on the team? And he tried harder than all the other players in the team to get on the team, but he's on the bench. Now, when you have that play and you know you can win, would you give him that play because he has tried so hard, or are you going to give it to the guy who knows how to execute it? Well, there was a 6-second silence, and Woody said, touche. That's the end of my sermon for tonight.
Very good.
Hey, excuse me, Mike, I just...
Oh, no.
Mr. Maurer, I'm sorry. Yeah, truly. Mr. Maurer, I appreciate and respect your opinion, you know, regarding Top Gun and so forth, and it you know, being in Dublin the last 3 years.
Only don't express it.
But I can't believe that you otherwise aren't appreciative of the job that Scott Dring does as the director of our...
Oh, I do appreciate that.
Well, you said, you didn't exactly say that at the beginning of your comments, so good, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, no, and as I say, it sounded way in the past sometimes as if I didn't when I invited him to a debate on any street in Dublin. But no, we've passed that stage. We respect each other and respect also the things we disagree about.
Thank you.
I just want to be clear,
Yeah.
that he does a great job.
Oh, I know that.
Great, okay,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We always
Thank you.
appreciate the walk down memory lane. Okay, we have the consent agenda. Does any council member have any item they'd like to remove? If there's no requests, is there a motion to approve the actions? The 5
Second.
actions? Thank you. Is there a second, Ann?
Vice Mayor Gerber.
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Ms. Salee.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson. Mr. Lucklider.
Yes.
Mayor Keenan.
Yes.
Ms. Janice Zerker.
Yes.
Ordinance 73-15.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for public health services with the District Advisory Council of the Franklin County General Health District for 2016.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes, good evening, members of council. On August 11th, 2015, the Franklin County Board of Health approved a per capita rate of $7.51 for the public health services it provides to participating jurisdictions. This per capita rate reflects a 4.89% increase over the 2015 per capita rate. The city cost for a 2016 contract would be $333,455.94. You know that this covers services related to public health care services for the city as well as plumbing inspection services, and this is for the contract year 2016. Does not include, just as a reminder, mosquito control and management program, which is under a separate contract. Staff recommends approval of ordinance 7315.
Thank you, Dean. Any council questions or hearing none? Ann?
Vice Mayor Gerber.
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Ms. Salee. Mr. Peterson. Mr. Lucklider.
Yes.
Mayor Keenan.
Yes.
Ms. Janice Zerker.
Yes.
Ordinance 74-15.
Authorizing the city manager to execute necessary conveyance documents to acquire 0.031 acre more or less temporary easement from Realty Income Properties 8 LLC for property located at 6,000 Perimeter Boulevard for the construction of a shared use path.
Dana?
Yes, good evening again. The city's preparing to construct a shared use path adjacent to Discovery Boulevard and continuing onto Wall Street. There's a map of that provided in your packet with the staff report. After engaging in amicable discussions, the city's come to an agreement with the grantor to acquire a temporary easement for the appraised value of $1,275. Staff recommends council approve ordinance 7415. Unless you have any questions, that's all I have.
Council, any questions? Hearing none. Ann, on the ordinance?
Mr. Lucklider.
Yes.
Mayor Keenan.
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson. Ms. Janice Zerker.
Yes.
Ms. Salee. Vice Mayor Gerber.
Yes. Let me just add, Dana, I appreciate staff's indulgence in getting these overviews. This is really helpful for me to place
Sure.
not only this one, but the other areas that are involved, so thank you. Ordinance 75-15.
Amending Chapter 51, establishing user fees and capacity charges for the sanitary sewer systems.
Good evening, members of council. When the 2016 through 2020 capital improvements program was presented to council in August, I discussed at that time the plan to propose an increase in the sewer fees for both 2016 and 2017. As council is aware, the sewer fund is saddled with a significant amount of debt, namely from the Upper Scioto West Branch Interceptor. That loan, which was taken out in 1999, was $19.7 million, and the annual debt service on that loan is approximately $1,400,000. The final payment will be made in 2018. But in addition to that debt payment, the sewer fund has significant ongoing maintenance expenses in order to keep the system operating properly. Every other year for approximately the next 15 years, it's expected that the sewer lining and manhole rehabilitation program will continue. That usually ranges in about $2.5 million each year. As a result of these expenditures, as well as future ongoing expenditures, including the lining of the lines, I am recommending that in 2016, council increase the sewer charge by 25 cents per 1,000 cubic feet, as well as reallocate 25 cents from the water charge to the sewer charge. That way, the net increase is 25 cents per 1,000 MCFs. So based on the average usage, the quarterly surcharge will go from $47.52 for both water and sewer to $48.35, an increase of 83 cents. Then in 2017, I'm recommending an additional 25% increase to the sewer surcharge, taking the charge per 1,000 cubic feet to $11.85. This would then take the sewer surcharge from $48.35 to $49.18, an increase of 83 cents. I believe that this level of increase is appropriate based on ensuring that we can continue to operate the water and sewer funds. As we've previously discussed, the water fund is very healthy and can absorb this reallocation and then no increase in the rate. But until that Upper Scioto Branch debt is paid off, we do need to have additional funds going into the sewer fund.
Very good. I think council's seen this at least 3 times, maybe more, with respect to the, in conjunction with the water sewer service area discussions that we've had as well. So we appreciate your work on that. Is there any council questions? Mr. Maurer, I see you've signed up for this.
number of council meetings ago, we dealt with, or you dealt with the rising desire for sewer service. And my question is whether this is, how this fee relates to those of us who have, bad septic systems and are waiting for sewer service. Do we start paying now, this fee for us now, or is it levied at the point at which we are attached to the sewer system?
These are separate items altogether.
That's correct. You are not assessed these charges until you're a user of the system.
Yeah.
But that's an important point to make. The extensions of the water and sewer lines to the unserved areas is coming from either capital improvement tax fund dollars or general fund allocation, not from increasing the rates on the existing water and sewer users.
And at least as the proposal stood, the city would put the lines in. The only requirement would be that the user would then hook up with the laterals and pay the tap fees
That
for
is
both
correct.
Columbus and Dublin. We're still working through the details on that, but there was a provision that perhaps we would forgive 50% of the tap fee on the Dublin side. So that's ongoing, and stay tuned.
Yes.
So a private question here then. My septic system is getting worse and worse and worse. Should I continue getting it serviced, getting it fixed until the sewer system comes along?
Would probably be best, if I may, Mayor,
Please.
for Mr. Mauer to come in and sit with our engineering staff and check the deployment plan, because we proposed a deployment plan for the sewer and water extension for the unserved areas as part of the capital budget. So there is a current plan, and then there's a process to apply for that service. So it'd
Okay,
probably be
so-
best if we sat down and went through the maps with you and showed you what the time frame might be for that.
Yeah, so it's sort of on a calendar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is on the calendar.
And I can find out how far down the calendar I'm on.
You absolutely
and
can.
then
Need
decide
meeting with staff.
Yeah, then decide whether I have to get the old junk fixed up.
Correct. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mauer. Any council questions or discussion? Hearing none. Ann, on the ordinance?
Ms. Janice Zerker? Mr. Reiner?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? Mayor Keenan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gerber?
Yes.
Ms. Salee?
Yes.
Mr. Lucklider?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 76-15.
Amending Chapter 35 of the Codified Ordinances to revise the fee and service charge revenue/cost comparison system and establishing a schedule of fees and service charges for City of Dublin services.
Mr. Stifler?
Thank you, Council. I'm here to discuss the ordinance 7615, which is the annual update to the fee schedule. We discussed this a little bit in Finance Committee, but just to recap for you in the audience. This year, we're applying an inflationary measure of 1.2% to the fees. This results in no or only inflationary changes for a majority of for actually all of the departments. We are proposing one new service, that is the after-hours plan review. It's modeled after the after-hours inspection fee. After-hours inspections, there were some questions on this. These inspections are by request only, and this plan review will also be by request only. Typical examples of after-hours inspections are fire alarm inspections, safety inspections, generator tests, things that you would want an empty building for. One fee that is changing by a more than inflationary rate is the Mayor's Court computer fee. We're asking that that be moved from $5 to $8. That will allow the fund balance to increase slightly in future years for anticipated upgrades. And even at $8, our proposal puts our fee well in line with other Central Ohio communities.
Yeah, can you hold that slide? I had just a quick question on it. Back, the one you just had up. No, the one with the caseloads.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I was curious. I'm looking at the caseload, and I'm looking at our counterparts. And for instance, Grove City, Reynoldsburg, Gahanna. It seems like we're similar-sized cities, but they've got twice the caseload. Just was curious. You're probably not the one to ask the question to, but
From looking at other reports, the 2013 caseload there does seem low. It's lower than our cost study estimated the caseload to be. It might be how they're counting December, January cases. Our caseload projected for 2015 is going to be around 3,000 cases, and we were around 3,000 cases last year. But this is according to an official Supreme Court report, which is why I chose to use these figures.
that's fine. All right, thank you. Carry on. Oh, are we done?
I'm done.
Oh, okay. Any other council questions? I thought you had more to go. All right, if there's hearing none, then Ann on the ordinance, please.
Ms.
Sorry.
Salee? Mayor Keenan?
Yes.
Mr. Reiner? Yes. Mr. Nissy Zerker?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gerber?
Yes.
Mr. Lucklider?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
7715,
Appropriating a 0.013 acre more or less permanent easement, 0.007 acre more or less temporary easement from Kevin D. Mullins and Jocelyn Mullins from the property located at 8600 Highland Quarry Road for construction of a shared use path connection.
Dana?
The city's preparing to construct a shared-use connection path adjacent to Highland Croy Road. The city's hopeful that an amicable resolution can be reached with the grantors. However, this ordinance authorizes the Law Director's Office to file a complaint for appropriation in a court of common pleas in the event that negotiations are unsuccessful. There's a map also in your staff report that shows the general location of this. The appraised fair market value for the property interest was determined to be $1,275, and staff recommends approval of ordinance 7715.
Another great map, Dana, thank you. Any council questions? Hearing none. Ann on the ordinance?
Ms. Salee? Mr. Lucklider?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gerber?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? Mayor Keenan?
Yes.
Mr. Reiner?
Yes.
Mr. Nissy Zerker?
Yes.
78-15,
Appropriating a 0.62 acre more or less parcel and a 1.186 acre more or less parcel from BET Investments 1 LLC and Riverview Street Investments Limited respectively for the property located along the east side of North Riverview Street for the public purpose of providing and preserving needed riverfronting parkland along the Saddle River in and around the Dublin Historic District.
Dana?
Yes, also in regards to this one, there's a map also in your staff report. The city's preparing to implement a plan to preserve and provide needed public parkland along both sides of the Soda River in and around the Dublin Historic District. You're aware of this effort. The city hopes to reach an amicable agreement with this grantor as well. However, again, should that not occur, this ordinance authorizes the Law Director's Office to file a complaint for appropriation in the Court of Common Pleas in the event that those negotiations are unsuccessful. We're contemplating an appropriation of about 0.62 acres more or less, and then about another 1.186 acres more or less of two combined parcels. The appraised market value, fair market value for these two parcels is $320,000. Staff recommends approval of this ordinance.
Council, any questions? Ann?
Mr. Nissy Zerker?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? Mr. Reiner?
Yes.
Mr. Lucklider?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gerber?
Yes.
Mayor Keenan?
Yes.
Ms. Salee?
Yes.
Ordinance 79-15,
Authorizing provision of certain incentives to Doucette and Associates Company, LPA, to induce it to retain an office and associated operations and workforce within the city, and authorizing execution of an economic development agreement.
Ms. Ray?
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Members of City Council. No changes since the presentation to council at last week's meeting, although I do have Mr. Troy Doucette here, the firm's principal, in case you have any questions or if you'd like to say anything about his firm.
Very good. You'd like to say a few words, Mr. Doucette?
Sure. I appreciate City of Dublin offering the incentives that it has. We are about a 12-member law firm right now, 12-lawyer law firm. We predominantly practice in consumer litigation, so we represent people facing foreclosure, as well as represent people against debt collectors, against credit reporting agencies, and other kind of mortgage financial institutions, whatnot. We fortunate to have had some growth recently, really since day one, and looking to grow a little bit further. This particular lot of land that we're looking at to build a building will be right next to where we are at 700 Stonehenge. I understand there's a question of which plot before. It'll be 100. It'll be the first one right as you go in. So that's it.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Welcome. Any questions? Anybody? All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, very good. Ann?
Ms. Salee?
Yes.
Mr. Lucklider?
Yes.
Mr. Reiner?
Yes.
Mayor Keenan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gerber?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? Ms. Nissy Zerker?
Yes.
Very good. Ordinance 80-15,
Authorizing provision of certain incentives to XPO Intermodal Solutions, Inc., to induce it to retain and expand an office and its affiliated entities, associated operations, and workforce within the city, authorizing execution of an economic development agreement.
Mr. Garcia?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. No further information from the previous staff memo from the last council meeting. However, we do have the president of Intermodal of XPO Logistics here to say a few words about his project.
Very good. Mr. Smith, welcome. You want to state your name and address for the record, if you will?
Paul Smith, 4385 Wyandotte Woods Boulevard, Dublin, Ohio. So first, I want to thank Dublin for the support they've given us over the years. For those of you who are not familiar with XPO Logistics, we are a supply chain logistics company that at one point in time you knew as maybe Pacer International.
Right.
Pacer International was acquired by XPO Logistics about 18 months ago. At the time, XPO had a large brokerage operation, and then we became the intermodal operation. And so that's the entity that I'm here with today. We have since grown rather considerably. So at the time, the combined entity was about a little over $2 billion in revenue. Today, as of Friday, we closed our acquisition of Conway, and we are now a $15 billion entity from a revenue perspective with $1.1 billion in EBITDA. So obviously a lot of growth, a lot of focus, and some of the great things that have come along with Dublin and their support has been supporting us in our growth. When I look at what Dublin brings from a community and organizational standpoint, it really lines up with our emphasis on technology, being progressive, and really driving things ahead. As an entity, we'll spend over $400 million on IT. That is really the backbone of our growth and our platform. And we're really excited about being able to stay and be a part of Dublin and expand this into the future, and we appreciate your support.
Very good. Your logistics footprint is not only national, but well beyond that.
Yep, we're in roughly 1,500 locations and I believe 82 countries. So,
We're glad to have you here and glad to have you continue to be here. Thank you. Council, any other questions or discussion? If not, Ann?
Ms. Shanice Zerker?
Yes.
Mr. Reiner?
Yes.
Mr. Lechleiter?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gerber?
Yes.
Ms. Salee?
Yes.
Mayor Keenan?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you here. We have introduction, first readings, ordinance 81-15.
Creating Chapter 38 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Dublin regarding municipal income tax.
Introduce it. Very good. Ms. Gibson?
Well, as you very well know, we've been working on this for several years now, but in order to comply with the state law, we are incorporating a new chapter, which is Chapter 38, which it contains all the mandates that's set out by House Bill 5 and now currently in 718. Chapter 35 will continue to be in existence because it'll still be useful for the next 7 to 9 years. So.
Good. Well, some of it's a bitter pill, I guess, at the end of the day, as we know, but I know you worked very diligently and very hard on it, and there were accolades really from all over central Ohio about your leadership role in doing the best we could with that particular bill, and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Council?
I was just curious as to what do you see as the potential cost to Dublin?
The first cost we will see will come in 2018. Next year, there's a couple of ways that we will actually see an increase in revenue if things remain static. Today, I just looked if the way the penalty and interest is changing for next year. When I compared them to the rates that we use now compared to what the rates will be in 2016, we would have had a net increase in revenue and penalty and interest of $60,000. So that's the one thing which we don't really, it's not a revenue stream for us, but still at least it's a positive, not a negative. And as I said in the memo, next year we will actually see 5 estimated payments from individuals and businesses due to the way that they have changed the due dates. But we will continue as the years go on to monitor what we can project or see going into the next year at budget time.
Very good. Tim?
Thank you. And payments will still be made directly to the municipality. I mean, there was some discussion, I thought.
Right, central collection is off the table, at least at this time, so yes, so they'll still be made here. We will still be maintaining everything the way we do now.
Great, thank you.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay, if not, the second reading, public hearing will be November 16th, council meeting. So thank you, Faye, again. Staff comments.
Just a couple items this evening. I just wanted to acknowledge and thank the Ohio Senate. I've been getting a lot of these. You probably see these on occasion from them. I want to thank the President of the Senate, Senator Keith Faber, and of course Senator Jim Hughes, our Senate representative here in the 16th Senatorial District, for advancing these through the Senate. This one happens to be for all the recognition that we received in 2015 Festivals and Events Association Convention and Expo, which you're familiar with. We also received another one expressing congratulations and appreciation for our fiscal accountability, the AAA bond ratings that we received from both Fitch and Moody rating companies, and I just wanted to just thank the Senate for that public recognition. Also, I think you may have it, or you should have at your seat, the announcement of the new Irish Festival Honorary Chair, which this year will be Mr. Ed Goggin, and that's a press release, I believe, is at your seat and will be released this evening. And just want to make sure you had the first heads up on that. So pleased to officially announce that this evening. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Dana. Council committee reports, planning and zoning, Rep. Amy? Admin committee, Rick?
Nothing new to report.
Community development, John?
I just want to thank my fellow council members for the work you've done on creating a complete walkable city. We've been a town that really didn't have a huge downtown, and you've all worked extraordinarily hard for 5 years to create this model for our community, and it's pretty much well perceived across the country as something totally innovative, and it's going to do a great deal for our historic district and for the overall effect of the city, and you should all be very proud. It's been a lot of work. There's been a lot of naysayers, negative people who didn't really see your vision. I just want to say I appreciate that as the head of community development. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mayor Lee, Finance.
Just want to remind everybody that we have our operating budget workshops coming up next Monday night. We will begin at 6:30 for the budget, but at 5:45, the people that are on finance, if you would come to hear the request by Dublin Counseling, Centero, and
DCVB.
Dublin Convention and Visitors Bureau.
DCVB, yeah.
And, but our regular Finance Committee of the Whole will be the 9th and the 18th at 6:30.
Another opportunity for the youngsters to get their AP government hours in. Amy, Public Services?
I just have a quick question. When we discussed the extension of water and sewer service, we talked about the fact that there are a lot of residences that are within the 100 feet of existing lines, and we were going about notifying. I was just curious how that project was going.
Right, on November 16th, Megan is going to be coming before you for an update on all of that. And that includes the hardship and so forth that you asked us to look into. So November 16th, we'll have that on your agenda.
Good.
Great, thank you so much.
Good question, Amy. Thank you. John, anything at Arts Council?
I just want to remind since we have a lot of the students again, that the Arts Council has a fantastic exhibit from a very rare individual, in some ways almost equal to Mandela in his message for humanity, and that message is hate is not the answer. And if you get the opportunity, you should stop in and see this exhibit. This man faced off with not only the fascist governments and their concentration camp and the Soviet Union and their concentration camps. And you would think it would break a normal human, but he came out with a very positive attitude about humanity, and it's something that there's a great lesson for all of you. So I would like to hopefully see that some of you get a chance to see this exhibit. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Board of Education, Greg.
Thanks, Mayor. Dana and Angel and I attended our monthly school board meeting last Wednesday. As always, our staff was, it's an honor to sit next to them as they're representing us and the information that they share with the schools. It is a really beneficial meeting, and if any of you ever want to join us, I'd encourage you to do it. Dr. Hoadley's there, Lynn May and Scott Melody from the board, Steve Osborne, their treasurer, was there. It's a really, really helpful meeting. One of the items that we discussed was the H2 Hotel on the former Cooker site, and of course, Angel had a chart and these graphs and pictures and everything that explained exactly what we need to do to repeal the old TIF and put in a new TIF, and they were at least initially, supportive and understood what it is we are attempting to accomplish, and that it's a win for everybody involved. So I know Angel's going to be bringing that to us. I don't know when. Do you guys have an idea when you're going to be doing that?
January, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so that ship has already sailed, at least with letting the schools know about that, and they were supportive. We covered a number of issues, and really helpful, beneficial meeting, and again, the city staff does a fantastic job representing us.
You know, Greg, speaking of the schools, I noticed in the Dublin Villager Thursday, there was an excellent article on the front page talking about the financial position of the schools, and which also includes, excuse me, the Bridge Street corridor and the like. So it was, I mean, we already knew that answer, but it was very nice to see that in the paper to share with the residents just how strong our schools are doing.
And it's a great point, Rick, and they expressed that in the meeting. The relationship between the city and schools on a staff level is as strong as ever, and they are very, very supportive of Bridge Street. They're very supportive. They are very committed to their portion of that agreement. They were really interested in hearing about the new hotel on the corner that we heard about from the roundabout. That has started a lot of conversation and some synergy, and they are sort of that position of, well, let's hurry up and get this stuff built kind of thing as well. So it's a great point, and I think that they truly are very, very supportive of us, and it's obviously a really important relationship. It's in good shape.
All good stuff. A rising tide raises all ships, as they say, so it's been a great relationship. Todd Coadley's been really an effective leader, too. Really enjoyed working with him, so we thank you. Marilee Morpsey?
Oh, we haven't had a meeting since our last.
Very good. Northwest 33, Tim?
Nothing to report. Thank you.
All right, we'll go to council roundtable. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Bright Road, what do we call that? Planning, development?
Area plan meeting?
Area plan meeting. It was really well attended. There were a lot of people there. I would just encourage staff to keep that group of people. We probably get email addresses from them there, don't we? Keep them engaged.
Yes.
And I know there's going to be a follow-up meeting in December, and I think what's really important is that you carry the water from one meeting to the next, or else we're just having meetings. So they were very engaged, very positive message, very supportive, as I perceived it, and yet again, Vince did a great job representing the city and the staff and our consultants, and it was an impressive presentation, and I think they really appreciated the communication. So good luck to everybody who's on the ballot tomorrow. It is an unnerving thing to be running through a campaign. Good luck to my colleagues. I wish you luck.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kind of. Okay, Amy?
On that same topic, Greg, with the east side, or I'm sorry, the Bright Road area plan, is the information online? So those of us who didn't have the opportunity to go to the meeting can look and see, and if it's not, if we could just get a memo when I'm sure it'll hit the website at some point.
Yeah, we'll get you that information. Usually we do post that out there. I just couldn't answer that offhand, but we'll make sure either it is or we'll get information to you another one.
Perfect, thank you. I'd be interested in seeing what was proposed. Other than that, I don't have anything other than good luck to everyone tomorrow.
Thank you. Marilee?
I attended the chili cook-off that was this weekend down in historic Dublin, and as Tim noted in an email to all of us, a lot of other people attended it too, which was great. I didn't ever hear who won, though. Does anybody know who won? Sandra, do you know who won?
I stayed away from the chili this weekend, but I have not heard.
Well, anyway, it was really a lot of fun, and it was well-attended, and I think it's become highly competitive among the restaurants, you know. So that's always a great sign. Also went on the ODOT tour of 270-33 with a number of staff and some citizens, and that's very interesting. They did 2 tours on Friday, and we'll do more as more gets developed, but you get to go down in the hole, as they call it. See, Megan, she likes this kind of stuff, but and to really understand where these ramps are going and everything. It's it's somewhat easier to understand when you're in the car right there, you know, than just the pictures. But they really made terrific progress, and I think there was an email that came out, the blog this afternoon, about the progress that's been made and all. And ODOT is very excited about it as well, and the staff that were with us from there, besides Nancy, who you hear on the radio all the time, the engineers and all, it's, professionally, it's something that's unique. And so they're very interested in the outcome and the movement that it will improve in this phase. And last, I attended along with several other council members, the Homeowners Association meeting. As you know, the city puts 2 of those on a year. And I thought all the presentations by staff were well received. And really, they were very minor questions this year. But I think at the beginning, it gives a great opportunity for all of them to talk to each other. And I think that the only thing I would improve on it is when somebody stands up and asks a question, if they could indicate where they are from. Because unless they happen to do that, you don't really know which housing area they're living in. But it was a good meeting. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mary Lee. Tim?
Yes, thanks, Mike. I was at the same neighborhood leadership meeting that Mary Lee just mentioned at the Rec Center last Wednesday. It was certainly well attended, and I just wanted to thank staff for their work in preparing for this meeting, as well as their presentations. And just coincidentally, without making a speech, there's been some discussion this fall during the campaign season about transparency. And, I think that's one more example of this city council over the years, championing efforts like this, to make sure, that our neighborhood leaders and associations are informed with respect to, what the city's involved in and very intentionally, I guess, asking for feedback and so forth. So anyway, also, in a shameless plug, while we have this captive audience of students here, as Mary Lee mentioned, she was down in the Historic District last Saturday, as was I, and was pleased to see all the activity. So I would encourage you young folks, that sounded old, didn't it? But anyway, I'm old. Anyway, as the gift-giving season approaches, spend your dollars locally. Go down there, buy your parents a gift certificate to one of the restaurants, or I'm sure many of you visit, the Starbucks down there, but there are shops where I know your parents would really appreciate some of the gifts. So anyway, in closing, as we all know, tomorrow is Election Day. Please vote if you haven't already, and good luck to Mike and Rick and all the candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. John?
Yeah, on the fun side, I went over and thanked Jeanette Paris, the creator of the Trumpkin. Has we all seen the Trumpkin? And it was amazing. It went viral. People closed out their news program saying Dublin, Ohio. It was amazing. For something as simple, it's just amazing, the promotional value she gave our city. A very lovely lady who had cancer and was trying to formulate some way to promote this thing and raise money for cancer. So really a wonderful piece of art, very unusual. But so you have to stop by. She has it lit at night. It's going to sit out there until it oozes into her porch. So it should be quite an interesting happening. On other grounds, or on other issues, had the good fortune to come across a international magazine, which featured the Grounds of Remembrance. It's really a glossy, slick, high-end magazine. It goes around the world, and in this magazine, they showed the Grounds of Remembrance, which was put together by 23 of our citizens in a 2-year-long fought battle that I think 3 of us were in on, right?
At least 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, and here's some pictures of it. It's really pretty neat. It's in Chinese and in English, this particular magazine.
You got the slides there. How about that? Very nice. I wonder if our architect's seen that. That's quite a spread. Can we get copies of that?
Let's see, I saw it over at the city building at,
Somebody just say yes.
yeah, I think we can.
Yeah,
But you know what, this really doesn't give it justice. The photography was really excellent. And
we go
just,
through, I don't know if community relations staff could try to see if we could obtain some copies.
yeah, it just goes to show that the power of Dublin and its excellence in the arts and what the citizens here have created
Yep.
goes all the way around the world, so I was really proud to see that.
Another international feather in our cap.
Yep,
as it
thank
were.
you.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Rick?
Yeah, just a couple things. Dana, I pretty much know the answer, but for the benefit of our residents and those that will be watching this on television, share with me, please, where's it published, the leaf pickup schedule?
Where is it published?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, in fact, I had to check it the other night myself, because my wife was like, are you going to get the key, the leaves out there? I checked it on the website,
Somebody
so I
ought to
know
do
it's
something
there.
about that, yeah.
In the website, and where else, Sandra, I know we had a sign right out front, what else do we have? The Villager is published in there. Facebook updates, social media updates, but the website's probably the best, it lays the map out, so people can get to the website.
We could give everybody your cell number, and that way they could call you.
Yeah, believe me, I've got it memorized, so, yeah. Next Monday, they'll be in my
Yeah,
neighborhood.
well, I think a lot of them got my phone number first.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm bringing it up.
I heard the discussion out in my neighborhood as well.
Yeah, speaking of phone calls, I received.
Thanks for telling the world I'm behind in my chores, Rick.
Okay, yeah. Speaking of phone calls, I also received a phone call from a resident, and I thought she brought up a couple of good points. One was she was asking, she's new to town, and was asking, gee, you know, you're promoting bicycling throughout the city, you know, not only recreationally, but also to and from work and that sort of thing. But she said, you know, when I go to places such as over to the hospital or to a store or to my work, there are no bike racks. So I was wondering if we could talk about this at the upcoming budget. And I know that CSAC at one time was talking about this. I know the Bicycle Task Force was. And maybe it's more of just learning where we are so we can
Correct, yeah,
kind of roll this out.
Sure, and I know we've been pretty aggressive about those on public property relative to private property. Not, obviously, we wouldn't put them on there, but something we can promote, and we'll get some information to you.
Yeah, and the one last thing she had, she lives near the Avery Road, and Tim, I think this is in your area, and she said, you know, there's not a crosswalk from the eastern side of Avery Road over to the parks over there. And there are a lot of children and others that do frequent that park, and really the cars aren't slowing down for those people. And that kind of led to another discussion that I think she's from the West Coast, and mentioned that, you know, out in the West Coast, people are pretty much, it's by habit that as soon as they see somebody that may be contemplating approaching the intersection to cross it, cars stop. It seems like around here, people stop once, maybe. It seems like that they stop when somebody is in the walkway. So was just asking out loud if we could, I don't know if we come up with a education program of some kind to just alert our residents that, look, if you see somebody about to cross the crosswalk, to heed to them, or to, you know, some other kind of law we might be able to come up with.
Sure, we can take a look at our promotional information. I know that we had quite a campaign a few years ago on that, but we can go back and polish that
And I
up.
pointed that out to her because I know over at the Historic District, we certainly have. I know that the one stop over there is not necessarily as user-friendly as some of the others, but we do have other crosswalks throughout the city, so it might be wise if we come up with some kind of campaign to talk about that.
Sure.
Excuse me, Rick, I'm not sure exactly where she lives, but if she's talking about the parks like the Avery Road Soccer Complex, there's a marked crosswalk with a flashing light that is pedestrian activated, if I'm not mistaken, that was installed just in the last year or so. You know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I know that we've done a lot of marking and so forth, and putting lights at various crosswalks, particularly those that are more isolated on long stretches of road like that, but
You know,
obviously, if you know of any like that that should be, you know, looked at again, you know, we'll certainly do that.
I think that, I don't frankly, I don't understand citizens. Down in historic Dublin, where we've spent quite a lot of money, actually, putting up the flashing signs on top and everything, at the various walk areas. I was down there today, and I nearly had to go like this in the middle of the street for a car who was, just driving down the road, not paying any attention at all to the flashing lights or to the fact that there were pedestrians in the street. So it is a distracted driving issue, and maybe that's the campaign that we could accelerate again. I think all those campaigns, and I noticed Dom even said on the radio or television in the last day or two, that the campaigns are good for a short period of time, and they have to be brought back because people, their memory just isn't there. And fairness to the young people in the room, the people I see are not young people that are creating, not that you don't do that too, but at least the ones I see are not the young people that are not paying attention, but it's certainly very dangerous in
Sure,
those
let us,
areas.
I hear you loud and clear on that. I think it's a great thing that we should do, and I agree completely. These things are cyclical. You got to get back out there routinely and keep it at the fore. So let us go back and look at what we've done previously, and we'll come back to you with some of that information and a plan to do that.
Particularly with this time change where it's dark in the morning, dark in the evening, and just bringing to one's awareness. Tim, I forget exactly where she lives. She made reference that there is a crosswalk near St. Bridges, but she's talking that there should be one further up, so.
Okay, well, I just want to be clear. I agree with Mary Lee, and I agree with you, whether it's Avery Road or anywhere else in the city. I'll just add also, the crossing at the roundabouts. I mean, it seems to me that everybody, appears to be challenged, regarding how fast they can go through the roundabout. I think they're a great solution, in most instances, but, add that to the campaign. Let's just be a little less concerned about how fast we can get through that roundabout, and be aware, if there might be a pedestrian in the vicinity, or
That's right,
bike rider or
Tim.
whatever.
That's right, Tim, and we are trying to create a more walkable community, so I think we need to kind of bring out to the awareness for our residents that what gets, be more mindful of pedestrians.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Mike, one other thing, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the Dublin Arts Council is going to have their wine and cheese fundraiser, not tomorrow, Tuesday, but the following Tuesday.
Okay.
And I do want to wish you and Mike and Rick good luck here in this upcoming election.
Thank you,
Certainly
Don.
deserve it.
Rick, you had one other thing?
Yeah, I do. This just hot off the press. Somebody was asking about the chili cook-off. The judge's choice was the Dublin Village Tavern.
DDT?
People's choice was Shadow Lane.
Yep, there you have it. Okay. Thanks for the update there. We appreciate that. I just want to encourage everybody to vote. I've done this a long time, been through a lot of elections, and it's important, especially for youngsters, to understand how difficult it is to put your name on a ballot, how personal it becomes. And I know I sent cell phones numbers around to all of council for all the candidates, and I would encourage you to welcome aboard whoever the outcome victors might be. Give them a warm welcome, and that's part of our democracy, and that's the way things work. So with that, we'll stand adjourned.